are they going to trade anybody else? This is the next question.
I think they will end up trading someone else. I think there'll be someone who kind of surprises us. I have idea. It's interesting. I'm not like they're guys that I think they could get really good value for. I mean, one guy in particular. I think everything else is going to kind of be on the margins. I think everything else is going to be less about, okay, well, we think we can get a great return for this guy. I think it's more about, oh, we can clear some cap space. We can get another draft pick if we get rid of this guy. That's why, I think Pat Pete falls into that category, especially
what are you getting from Pat Pete?
That's what I'm asking. Like I don't really know.
But
I'm also thinking it's more about the. I'm thinking it's more about the money and opening up a spot for a rookie corner. I think that's what it's more about.
I agree.
So what can you get for Pat Pete? Do I really care, to be quite honest? Like, I don't really think I do. I think it's more about the money to me. I mean, I don't think you're going to trade him for like a 6th rounder, like I don't think that's necessarily worth it.
Might be a 5th might be the best you're getting. 32 years old, maybe 2 years left. But I mean, 5th round pick and you clear up $6 million in cap space. That's not a bad move. It's not a bad move. No, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, it's got to be the right price, but I think Pat Pete is definitely one of the first guys that I looked at because I was a little surprised that he didn't get just straight up cut.
Yeah, not yet. At least. We'll see what happens.
That's fair enough. Fair enough.
I got a name for you, Dan Moore Jr. If they draft another tackle, go ahead.
I thought about this one and I didn't. I had some concerns about it, but I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
So my thought is, if they draft another tackle. If they know for certain tackle's coming to Pittsburgh, it's happening. Dan Moore's got one more year on his rookie deal, so he's cheap. I think that would be fascinating to some teams. Spencer Anderson, they like Spencer Anderson. He could play tackle. He could play both sides of tackle. I think that makes a lot of sense for them. If that's the route that they're going, where he's going to be the swing tackle, and then you got rookie and Broderick Jones, and then they also re-signed Dylan Cook. So that's all the tackles. That's all the tackles that they're going to keep on the roster. I think it makes some sense. I don't know what you're getting for Dan Moore, but they turned Kevin Dotson into like a 4th round pick. I just feel like Omar Khan could stick around and say, hey, we'll get something for Dan. He's a starter. Like, he's starter capable. He might not be very good, but he's got experience. And I think someone's going to need a tackle, and they could say, okay, here you go.
Yeah, among left tackles in the league, of 32 starting left tackles, he might be 25, 27. I don't really know. He's certainly not a top tier guy, but he's still a starting left tackle in the NFL. To that end, I think you could get a pretty good return for Dan Moore. Like, especially you bring up Kevin Dotson. Like, you're telling me Dan Moore's not as good as Kevin Dotson. He's not as valuable as Kevin Dotson.
Kevin Dotson a year ago. You got to be more specific.
Yeah,
Kevin
exactly.
Dotson today
I know.
$16 million a year.
That's true.
Yeah.
Respect Kevin Dotson. I will respect Kevin Dotson. Yeah. But yeah, I think but like you said, Kevin Dotson last year, I think Dan Moore could get you at least a 4th rounder, if not better. So I like that one. I'm just putting my eggs in the rookie plus Dylan Cook basket.
Plus Spencer
Anderson. Yeah, Spencer Anderson. I've been told Spencer Anderson could play inside linebacker if the Steelers asked him to.
They'd probably put him there. I think it makes sense. But again, this is all just on a list of possibilities.
Yeah.
Just on a list.
That's the only thing that would concern me. I guess in a vacuum, the only thing that concerns me is depth. But if you think that if you're getting a stud in the 1st round of the NFL draft, if you're getting a tackle that could be with you for years and years and years, that doesn't worry me as much.
I agree. Who else you got?
Well, I want to throw this one out there. I don't know if I would do it, but I think I could understand the logic behind it. Would you trade Najee Harris?
Oh, that's a big name.
It's a big name. It's a big name.
I think it would make sense to trade Najee Harris. I think if they want to draft a running back and they believe that Jaylen Warren is their guy and they could do a lot with Jaylen Warren, I think Najee Harris makes some sense. I think they like Najee, but I think that Najee's best trade value is right now. What do you get for Najee? Like, what do you trade Najee? What is Najee's trade value worth? He's a 3-time 1,000-yard rusher. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, and I think he looked. I don't want to say he looked the best that he's looked in his career last year, but like I think there's an argument that his best season of his career was last year.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely better than the year before.
Right. And I mean,
Yeah.
in his first year, I mean, he was like 3.5 yards per carry or something like that, closer to 3
Yeah.
yards per carry than he was to 4. Like, yeah, I could see it. I don't think I would do it because I think Najee's a win now type of player. Like, he's a
Hmm.
guy you're not. He doesn't have the same value as a trade piece as he does, um, actually playing on the field for you. So I don't think I would do it. But I think you could get a high second round pick. I
High
don't think you get
second
it,
round pick.
dude.
Really?
He's good. Yeah, this is
I'm
like a.
not. I'm just asking. I'm just. You
I'm
think a
do.
high second round pick for
I
Najee
do.
Harris?
I do. I
Oh,
do.
oh, I don't. Oh, I'm.
You
I
don't think
look at it.
so?
I think maybe a high third round pick.
Is it
I think
because he's a
maybe.
running back, or is it because you
Yeah,
don't
it's
think
because he's
that?
running back. It's got nothing
Okay.
to do with how good he is. I think Najee Harris is good. I think teams would value Najee Harris. I think teams that had a better running game wouldn't value Najee Harris. I think like it all comes back to like you gotta understand. Everybody's got to understand that these guys were working with Matt Canada. Like you don't get fired from the Pittsburgh Steelers in Week 8 for no reason. That doesn't happen. Historically, doesn't happen. You set a new precedent of how bad of a coach you were as Matt Canada. You got to understand these guys could be better, and I think teams would acknowledge that. It's just that he's a running back. Like that would be, like at that point, just go. But he's cheap. That also makes a lot of sense. I think what plays into this is you have until May 2nd to pick up his 5th-year option, which is huge. So team would have to be interested in picking that up. I think. Two, I think that Josh Jacobs and Saquon's got to go for a boatload of money, way too much money. Like to the point where teams are like, wow, the running back market is actually good. This stinks. This is not what we want. At that point, I think you could get some trade value for Najee Harris. But I think if Josh Jacobs goes for like $8 million and Saquon's for like 9, Najee's got like you got no chance trading a running back because at that point you're just waiting for them to hit free agency and then you could just sign cheap guys who are still good for 2 years over and over and over again and say, all right, that works out better. But I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm also not totally sold that they're going to pick up his 5th-year option. So I think
Yeah.
maybe second
Yeah.
round pick might get me.
Well, I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, I knew this was kind of a long shot from the start, but I think it's interesting because like I think they like Jalen Warren. I think they feel like they can fall back on him pretty well. And I feel like you said, people don't really value running backs. I think they think they're a dime a dozen.
Yes.
So I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I don't, like I said, I don't think I would do it, but I think it's a fun thought exercise. I'll put it that way.
I agree. Fun thought exercise. And if it happens, I think that that's the biggest name outside of Deontay Johnson that the Pittsburgh Steelers
Oh yeah.
could move 100%. I'm going to toss out one real close that I know both of us have on our list. Kind of a good way to go out here. Larry Ogunjobi. Big contract, hasn't played up to his contract. You're going to have to get some, I don't want to call them a sucker because I like Larry O. You're going to have to get some sucker that's like, we need a defensive tackle, and Larry O is our guy. And I don't think you're getting much for him. I don't at all, but I think you can get something.
Yeah. This feels a little bit like, Najee in the way that it's trading this guy would be of more value to, or actually, I guess it's kind of the opposite of Najee, where, Najee, I feel like trading him, you're giving someone else more value than you're getting back. But if you're giving up Larry O, like you're looking to really get you're like looking to win that trade, like you're
Yes.
not, I don't know. I'm finding a hard way to articulate this, but it's like you're just, like you said, you're not getting a whole lot for Larry O, but you're not
Yes.
getting a whole lot from him right now. So
yes, that's exactly it.
right. So
if
you've
you
got
could
to find
replace him. Yeah, if you could replace him with ease and save some money and get a draft pick, it's better than cutting him, which is
Right.
probably the other outlook. You think they cut him?
I don't see how you keep, like, I don't really understand how you keep him, to be quite honest. Like,
I agree.
I feel like they have too many defensive linemen that they've got to, like, if you're keeping Cam, if you got Keanu Benton, if you're thinking of keeping around, I guess Marcus Golden is in the same position, but, Amir, like, Armand Watts, excuse me, like,
Yep.
there are guys there that I feel like are not only cheaper, but give you kind of equal production in a similar role. You like, because Keanu Benton is the future. To be quite like
Yes.
he is the Steelers
Yes.
have been extremely clear with that. Like at this point, even if you're Lario on a big contract, even if you're playing well above the standard that you set last year, like you're not playing over Keanu Benton. Like you're not.
Yes.
Steelers aren't giving you that nod. I think that also hurts his trade value. It's just that he's clearly on the downswing, and the Steelers just want to get rid of him. I feel like they just want to kind of get rid of that contract. So, like you said, I like Lario. I think he could be productive for someone else, but I think it's going to be hard to convince another team of that.
Yeah, I think if you're calling, you're like, hey man, look at you could probably restructure him, and even if you're like, oh, we'll take on some of the cap hit, give us a 5th round pick, maybe. But just a name, I think Larry's like the bottom of the maybes, just because he's like a Pat P. Like chances are he's not going to be here, so
Yeah.
you might as well just try to get rid of him and see what you could get. I don't know if it's going to work, but you never know.